Story number 1. When I went to obtain my medication a week ago at around 7:30 am, this is what happened. I assumed my mother was searching for something when I heard someone in the refrigerator. However, upon glancing, I beheld a man I had never previously seen. He had on jeans and a black jacket. I wasn't concerned at all at first. I thought my brother was outside for some reason, and that he was a buddy of his. The man was still rummaging through the fridge, seemingly oblivious to me. He took some cold pizza that was 2 days old out of our refrigerator and appeared extremely comfortable in our home. This confirmed to me that he was my brother's friend. I spoke with him while getting my medication, and he informed me that he was trying to find the ranch. He was searching the refrigerator, but our brand new unopened bottle of ranch was in the cabinet. I went to get it for him. He had the bottle of ranch and 2 slices of pizza, but no plate, as far as I could see. I then got a paper plate for him. My mother asked me who the person was right then when she came downstairs. I then remarked in jest, "Well, he's probably Benjamin's friend." "I'm not," the man retorted nonchalantly. "I entered to look for food after seeing your front door open." I said, "Wait, you're not Benjamin's friend." He was confirming that he did not know my brother, and at this point I was freaking out and pulling away from him a little. Not too long later, my stepdad also descends. At this time, I was genuinely afraid, so I turned away and took a hesitant step back. Therefore, we told him to go. He wasn't acting violently or aggressively. He departed after hearing mom and stepdad's strong orders to go. I discovered he had left a backpack behind when he departed. As stepdad searches through everything, he discovers numerous cards in the man's name as well as his ID. Nothing that included a picture ID, but since everything had the same name, it was most likely his. My brother wasn't familiar with the individual, but mom called him first to find out. Subsequently, mom contacts the non-emergency police line to report the incident. When the cops arrive and inquire about specifics, I give them the rundown because I was the one who had been speaking with the man. If we would like to file charges, the police inquire. However, we decide against it as it's obvious the man has problems. All we want to do is make sure he receives assistance and doesn't break into any other homes. When the police locate the man, they return his backpack to him. We reiterate to the police our desire to not file charges. They inform us that the man lost his house recently for an unspecified reason and is unable to recall the events of the previous evening. Mom believes that the reason he was hungry was because he may have been on something and was coming down from it. She believes that putting him in jail will just make matters worse for him. Story number 2. When I was 11 or 12 years old, many years ago, this happened. I still regret not doing more about it at the time because I was too young, but I did not do anything about it. My family therefore frequently place Schwan food orders. They are a firm that offers food catalogs for you to order from. And if you're not familiar, a delivery man arrives at your house in a freezer truck with the food. My mom and the delivery guy were always talking too much because we always had the same person. Every time he gave an order, they would converse, sometimes for longer than 5 minutes. And most of the time I was in the room with the front entrance on the couch. I overheard their chats when the deliveries arrived. Though I wasn't really paying attention, I thought the guy was a little odd. Slightly strange, but not awful. I reasoned that he might be odd or socially awkward. However, there was something about him that turned me off, so I tried to stay away from him. One thing that caught my attention was that he would always try to watch where I was going whenever I was heading down the hallway that led to the door. He seemed to be watching steadily rather than just giving my movement a fleeting glance. I didn't want him to stare at me while I was in my pajamas, so I made an effort to remain motionless whenever he made a delivery. The fact that he could look inside my house and see which ways the hallway led unnerved me. I would rather have some solitude and not feel like he's always observing me. I was therefore cautious about such matters. Over time, things became more difficult financially for us. We were forced to cut back on our expenses, which meant we could no longer order takeout, When the delivery guy came by last, he asked my mom if she wanted to place any more orders. Any employee would, of course, try to persuade her to keep placing orders. Thus, we didn't give it much thought. The next week, he returned to our area to deliver packages for other people, but not before knocking on our door. We assumed he had either dropped in by accident or was just saying hello. Either my mother responded and told him no once more, or he returned the next week. How many times he knocked on our door during delivery days is unknown to me. Perhaps 11 or 12 times, nothing excessive. However, on one of those days, an unsettling incident occurred. Upon hearing the knock on the door, my mother and I looked out the window to determine if it was him. We remained motionless and extremely quiet inside, so he wouldn't hear us. Because at this point, he was truly going too far and unsettling us. So there we were, waiting for him to go down the hallway from the door. The doorknob turned when we heard that. Despite the fact that our door was shut, this guy attempted to enter our house without permission, either believing that we weren't home or that he knew we were. In any case, it was really unsettling. My mother and I exchanged stunned glances. Not too long after that, the guy drove off, and we made sure to see him go. In case he came back, we also made sure that both of our doors were secured for the remainder of the day. Fortunately, he didn't. He left us alone on the delivery day of the following week. However, it didn't end there. After receiving a call, my mom was informed that one of her credit cards had been frozen due to questionable expenditures. Before the recession really took hold back then, we had multiple credit cards. My mother used the one that was frozen exclusively for Schwan deliveries. She became aware that the delivery man had done more than simply use his tiny device to swipe her credit card in front of her once or twice. He took it to his truck and stole it there, out of sight from her. I'm not sure why she didn't think that was strange. However, it was clear that this individual had copied her credit card details. She called the company to clarify what had happened because she had only used this card with Schwan. I believe she may have also alerted them about the man's attempted entry into our home. They promised to look into it. Not long later, we noted that the Schwan vehicle was being driven by someone else, leading us to believe that he had been sacked. We were happy that he was no longer driving through our area once a week. I had a friend who worked a few blocks away from my house at the neighborhood grocery store at that time. She told me about a new bread delivery guy at the supermarket one day who was acting strangely. It appears that this individual was speaking inappropriately, clearly underage, to the teenage cashiers. The first time he spoke to my friend, he gave her the creeps. He left her alone since she was abrupt and chilly with him. But then he struck up a conversation with a 16-year-old acquaintance and coworker of hers. He would converse with her for extended lengths of time in a way that unnerved her. Hearing this story made me think of my own encounter with a scary delivery person, as you can easily imagine. After I told my friend about it, we discovered that the period he was dismissed from Schwan coincided with the arrival of this new bread guy at the grocery store. It turned out to be the same weird guy from Schwan when I asked my friend to describe him. He eventually quit his job as the grocery store's bread delivery guy, and I haven't heard from him since, though it still gives me the chills to consider how he exploited my mother for no other reason than that she was being amiable and pleasant to him. However, I sometimes ponder what would have occurred if we hadn't closed our door that particular day.